So this is a situation I've been sitting on for quite some time, mainly because it's been ongoing and not too much has come out about it, and I didn't want to speak on something that's not fully finished. But recently, a YouTuber by the name of Carl Jobst has finally finished the job, so we will be talking about it within this video. The Completionist is a YouTuber who mainly focuses on video games. As the name suggests, he tends to run games until completion. But on top of his YouTube channel, he also runs a charity event called Indieland, where him and developers of indie games come together to raise some money for charity, which this money goes to the Open Hand Foundation, which is a foundation that Gerard, aka the Completionist, made in honor of his late mother. And the reason for its creation was because she had Alzheimer's, so this was supposed to go to Alzheimer's research. But apparently that's not the case. Apparently people have been digging into the tax records of this charity, and they have found that he's been sitting on $600,000 or something along those lines that has just not been touched. Sort of. We'll get to that. On top of that, it was also found out through the rest of the research, thanks to Carl Jobst, that his family also runs a golf tournament that is supposed to be donating to charity, specifically to the Open Hand Foundation, which we'll talk more about that in a second as well. But so far, what most people know is that the money has not moved. Now, thanks to all the new information that we have, it's not looking good. Actually, it's looking a little fraudulent. By the way, Carl Jobst and Some Ordinary Gamers, they had an interview with this guy, and his little cope for that was he was waiting for a big enough charity to donate this money to, because he didn't want to give it out in little bits. Instead, he wanted to give it out as one giant payment.
Pay more than six figures or 6+ figures of what they asked for, then you're just going to waste it. So the goal on the back end for my family that I've been told is like, we're just going to raise a bunch of money and then give it to one org and like make a bigger impact rather than just giving smaller donations that don't move the needle.
And he still hasn't found the charity for that. But on the website, it would lead you to believe that they've already given away this money and they already have a person that they're donating to, which is a little misleading. And when it comes down to a charity, you don't want to be misleading because of how complicated charities are. Which that excuse kind of got blown out of the water once Carl Jobst found out that this was his entire family kind of doing this. Because when it comes down to the golf tournament that they have, we're talking big sponsors here. Like Indieland is just indie developers and the community gathering money, you know? But the golf tournament is a little different. You see, their golf tournament has been running since 2004, and it has had some insanely big sponsors, like Pepsi, for instance, Monster, even. And the donations from this charity kind of just seem to vanish. No one knows where this money goes. And when looking at the expenses and like how it's all filed, it literally just says expenses for some of these, which is a giant red flag. I don't know how the IRS has not got on that. But again, most of the evidence has kind of just been up in the air. I don't see how. I mean, most people are looking at this and hoping that it's really just gross negligence, but I can't see the case for that. Because this money has been sitting in this account for like, what, 10 years? Right? That was the amount of time that was put into this. So what is happening with that? And it's strange too, like why hasn't the money moved? Why is the only thing coming in and out of here expenses? What is happening? And that's kind of where we're getting people defending this, because the money hasn't moved outside of the expenses again, so people are trying to defend it because they don't think that it is a scam simply because the money is still there. He still has that money. He still took it from other people. There was income that got put into this account from you guys. So how does that make sense? Personally, my leading theory on this is they're using this money as a means of tax evasion. The golf tournament is funded by the PBD Foundation or whatever, which is a company made by Gerard's dad. And yes, they donate into the Open Hand Foundation. So there could be a case of them doing a little bit of tax fraud. And that might be the main purpose of this whole thing, because again, the money hasn't moved, but it also wouldn't need to move if the whole point is to make sure that the money that they're making outside of it is not getting taxed due to tax exemptions and the way charities are structured. It's a complicated mess, and personally, I'm not even fucking nearly qualified enough to talk to you about it, so I'm not going to pretend that I know anything about it, but that's just my leading theory. And it's the only one that really would make sense. Because since the interview, Gerard has also come out and said that he was going to be done with this whole thing and that he was going to go ahead and donate the money, but he never did, and it still hasn't moved. And also, he's been radio silent for like the past 2-3 weeks. So most likely what's happened is he knows he's screwed, and he just decided to go and get a lawyer or something, because that's the only thing I can think of. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully he will donate this money. Honestly, if I was him, I would just be like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna seriously just donate all of it to whoever, whatever, does not matter. Just give that money out, because that's what you said you were gonna do, and people are coming after you for it. So just do it. Why have this money sitting there? Another theory is that he probably doesn't even have a choice, because it's probably not even him doing it, and it's probably like his family or some shit. Because his family is heavily involved with the golf tournament. So who knows? Maybe they're just the golf mob or some shit. Anyways, that's gonna be it for today's video. If you like the video, go ahead and leave me a good old subscribe and maybe a like while you're at it too. And you know what? Why don't you throw a comment down below as well? I love comments. If you comment down below, I will throw water at you. How about that? Sound good to you? Shout out to my members, Magic and Harley, for being the silly goose that they are. And yes, it's goose, not geese, because they have assimilated into one being. You see, whenever you become a silly goose, you are the silly goose. So you merge with the rest into this giant amalgamation of silly goose, which you can do too for only $5 a month. And for those $5, you get all the listed benefits here, which, come on, they're pretty cool. You know you want them. And hey, if you like this video, why don't you go check out some of my other stuff, because some of it's actually pretty good, not all of it's drama related. So